Hi, can anyone hear me? Can somebody just type on ISC that everything's working? If during the recording, this will be quite awkward. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, it's good. Okay. Can somebody on ISC just type that you can hear me? Brilliant. Thanks so much. So I'm David Edmondson, and I'm joined by Mark and Martin. Say hi.
Hello.
And we're the Plasma maintainers, and we're here to talk about Plasma Mobile today. Okay, so I've got some slides I'll put up, and then I'll just talk over the top like it's some sort of nature documentary. So we're KDE developers, as you can tell by our logo. And what do we do in KDE? We make a part in Blue. We make the libraries that can be used by any application on any platform that's built on Qt. And we make applications that run on any platform. So as well as just Plasma, can also run on GNOME and Windows and Mac. And then that's expanding into Android and Vigo and anywhere else. And alongside, we have our own desktop environment, which is growing, called Plasma. So what is Plasma? Here's a screenshot of our last release. But Plasma is everything that takes you from a black screen to being able to run your applications. So not only is it everything you see on your screen here for widgets telling you what the time is, but also making sure your volume controls buttons work, giving you a way for applications to notify when they have anything of interest, and being a platform for applications to run and for you to be able to switch in between applications. And it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and it's what's going on in the screenshot. So what makes Plasma special? It's very modular. This is a visual metaphor for how it's made up of different components. It's meant as a metaphor, but it looks very much like our default wallpaper right now. So it's very modular, so you can take one component and simply replace it by another component. Everything is plugins which load plugins. There are very little core code, any UI in the core code. Everything is plugins which can be easily replaced. And that allows us to turn Plasma into something that works on multiple form factors in multiple different looks. So here's what somebody's done with Plasma. They've decided, rather than having just some files on your desktop, they've turned it into a launcher. And this is designed for netbooks where you really want to maximize all space available. So you've just taken that component and replaced it. They've taken what would be in the bottom panel with a launcher and swapped all of that around. And here's another example. We're just taking the same component, switched it around, and it looks completely different. But we're reusing the same code for all of the common parts, like showing your battery status or selecting a Wi-Fi network. Lots and lots of reuse. So here's where we've taken Plasma to make it work on a media center. Again, you're still going to need to set up a network. You're still going to need to show a collection of files or folders. So we're reusing the same components in different ways. You could even make Plasma look like this if you wanted to. And it's quite a nice look. But obviously we're here today to talk about Plasma Mobile and how we're taking Plasma from a desktop to squeezing everything into working on a phone, because it's a similar setup. We still need to switch between which application is running. You still need your volume keys to work. Everything is basically the same, but smaller. And it's really on the far end of the scale for moving across devices. And KDE's been working in mobile for a while. The entire Necessitas project, which is Qt on Android, started as a KDE project. We've got Marble, our mapping application, ran on a Nokia N810, which was in the very, very, very early days of smartphones. We have an Office suite that runs shipped by default on a Nokia N9. And we have GCompris, yes, learning gaming program for aimed at younger children that runs on Android or potentially iOS and other systems. So we've been poking around in mobile field for quite a long time. So the goals of Plasma Mobile is we want to create a native platform for all of our Plasma apps. We want to create a truly free open phone, not just open source, but also an open community where it's community driven. People should be able to approach it with patches, ideas, ways to go. And we want to improve our Plasma experience on all our devices. And as we improve mobile, that has positive impact on our desktop and all the devices in between the two extremes, like the tablets and the tablets that flip around and do weird yoga things. So some terminology first. Plasma Mobile is the applications we've been making. It's the tweaks that turn Plasma into working on a mobile. It's a set of libraries for making things on a mobile. And that's purely KDE code. We're making our own applications on top. But we also have the Plasma phone, which is turning, once we have these applications, we need to run it on a device. There's no point just having it on our desktop and us poking a monitor, because that just ends with a dirty monitor. So we need to run our Plasma Mobile in the real world on a real device. So we created a Plasma phone as a way of doing that. So we took your Ubuntu phone, which is an Android base layer, and then lots of Ubuntu middleware stacks, and then replaced Unity with our part in order to test and develop Plasma Mobile. But using Ubuntu as a base isn't set in stone. We're not trying to develop the phone here, we're trying to develop Plasma Mobile right now. So that could be switched out with Mare or x86 or any other platform. So we've got this distinct separation between Plasma Mobile, which is turning Plasma to work on a mobile, and a full experience that you can install purely for testing and development. So Marco is going to show us some parts of the Plasma phone in action.
Yeah, with the webcam will not be that easy, but we can try. Right now, this is installed on top of a Nexus 5. Is our Plasma Mobile, that it's an image generated on top of Ubuntu phone. We have running the screen as the main compositor. We have Queen, that is the window manager of KDE, running as its own Wayland compositor, and then it just loads the Plasma shell, the same shell, the same executable that we have running on the desktop. We have running here at full screen on the phone, and most of the code of the runtime is the same. It can load many of the same of the same components. Of, yeah, for instance, this clock is the same that you can find on the desktop. You can, but adding one, it will only show you those widgets that actually advertise their support for that particular factor, that particular input method. Then we have some launchers. We have a panel in which usual normal top panel in which you have quick configurations like configure my network, like show my energy status, configure my volume, and those are also components that can be taken and shared between the desktop and the mobile. It will only have to do some minor adjustments between the different input methods that we will have on different devices. While instead for things like task switching, this is completely different because it's a task that wouldn't work on a phone. Therefore, we did this part of the UI from scratch. Yeah, then.
But it's worth noting it is the same window manager underneath. It's still Quinn.
Yeah, it's
a lot of the same logic, just with a slightly different representation on top.
And we will. This is particularly not nice to see because it's very white. But also for applications will be the same thing. We plan to share as much as possible of the code of application themselves between a desktop version and a mobile version. That it's particularly tricky for the completely different input methods and quite different also technology being widgets versus HTML. But for instance, this simple ebook reader application, it's pretty much ocular. That is the viewer that we have on Plasma, and it uses most of the code from Ocular, even though the UI for it is completely different. And that's, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Now, if there are any questions or comments.
Awesome. We're going to have to wait a minute for them to come in anyway. So start typing your questions and then we'll get to them at the end. I've got a few more slides I can get through. So why are we making a Plasma phone? We're building on this huge existing code base. KDE's 18 years old. It's ridiculously old. So with that comes a lot of existing code, which solves a lot of real-world problems. And we get everything that Plasma's currently good at. Plasma's very good at integrating apps into the workspace experience, showing your calendar and merging in data from your instant messaging. We're good at taking applications and merging them in. So we're going to take that experience to your phone. And Plasma is also extremely customizable. We saw at the start with the different looks that we had most on the desktop. We get to take that to your mobile as well. It's still that plugin-based architecture that people can take these mobile components and switch them around. They can take the existing themes and go crazy with that. So we're taking everything that's good on Plasma and bringing that to your form factor. And Plasma Mobile, as we made it currently, runs pretty much anything. It runs apps written natively in Qt Quick and using our Plasma, the way we want a Plasma mobile app to look. But we can also run our widget-based applications that we have, all our existing apps. They're not necessarily a best experience, but you can run them and they will work. We can even run Ubuntu phone applications at the moment. the fact that they were designed with something else in mind doesn't stop them working. At the end of the day, it's Qt underneath. That just works. So we've been running some Ubuntu apps and they work fine. They don't necessarily look entirely native, but they work. You can even run GTK applications. And we've been running some GNOME chess for a while on a tiny form factor, and it works. So if you want a hacking device, a development device, that's cool. It is Linux. It looks like Linux. It acts like Linux. And as this Ubuntu Developer Summit, talk about building, we're creating native APIs for a phone. Plasma has its own set of libraries for, I'm not sure what that means. Plasma has its own set of libraries for doing a drawing, making components to buttons to sliders, and switching between different layouts. So we're reusing all of that for our mobile applications. So everything's all written in Qt Quick. We have a large set of components and core libraries designed to work with the Plasma theme. And we have some mobile specific parts, such as the sidebar menu that you might be familiar with. In Android, we have our own components that we haven't seen on your desktop, but are almost essential to a mobile way of working. And as it's the Ubuntu Summit, compatibility with the Ubuntu phone. Qt's motto used to be write once, run everywhere. That's kind of changing slightly into create a backend once and then write a small UI front end everywhere. So that still applies to Ubuntu phone. Ubuntu's not using Qt Quick controls in their layer, so it's not necessarily a 100% you write it once, it will work everywhere. But the backend definitely will. Anything that you write your C++ part or even common QML parts will be 100% transferable. The UI, we currently can run Ubuntu apps. I don't know if Ubuntu can run our apps. But even if you do need to change it, it's only a small, thin UI layer on top. So it's not too much work. So if you're developing for Ubuntu phone, developing for us, there'll be a lot of shared code. And underneath, we're using a lot of the same technologies as well. Yeah, so our upstream is very important. So we're using the same upstream, a phono, telepathy, all of that, the graphic drivers, that's all the same. So finally, here's a URL where you can find a lot more about Plasma Mobile, including a trailer video, which tries to sell it. And I think we're ready to take some questions if anyone has any. So I'll wait a minute because I know this is lagging, but by the time you see me saying this is lagging, you'll have. One other thing, our Plasma Mobile in its current state does work as a phone. If you put in a SIM card, you can use it for making phone calls, which is what most people use a phone for currently. To answer your question, why are we making something else? We kind of have to in some senses because we want to have a native platform for it. We need to work on making sure our applications do work on these different mobile platforms. That does mean we need to extend our KDE framework mobile stacks. Who takes care of devices support? That's a good question. So currently, with this Ubuntu stack kit we're building on, it's quite easy because we're piggybacking off everything Ubuntu does for your device support. And the way Ubuntu deploys things with Snap is really clever. Of it has a core image, and then all of the Ubuntu or Plasma stuff that will come on top comes in this warm file that you put on top afterwards. So there's a distinction between the platform layer and then this UI layer on top. So currently we're making great use or abuse of this Ubuntu framework. And that ties in with what Mike 101 was saying of we are reusing things. Some parts of our stack are different. We're using Wayland for our compositor, but it's still the same parts underneath. Still libhybris, slightly different version, but we're both working on the same libhybris. So. Okay, unless there's any questions coming in soon, we're going to go, I think. You can all applaud and whoop. Or not. What's libhybris was the question that's just been asked. So libhybris is this compatibility layer between Android APIs and Linux APIs.
Yeah, basically, the only way you can have you can have accelerator OpenGL on a real Linux, since you can use the drivers that have been written for Android and use them on Wayland or NER with
What's libhybris was the question that's just been asked. So libhybris is this compatibility layer between Android APIs and Linux APIs.
Yeah, basically, the only way you can have you can have accelerator OpenGL on a real Linux, since you can use the drivers that have been written for Android and use them on Wayland or NER with
Yep. So
with run hours.
Proprietary drivers, they've got their own API. You don't want to get into details of Gralloc and Hardware Composer, but yeah, it presents that in a way that our compositor or this is a compositor can talk to. The next question that came in was, when is it usable? That's a very good question. I mean, we're not saying this is a fully finished device. However, some of the things we've done have already backported into the desktop and benefits are being seen. But in terms of, is this a finished device? No, I think we're talking 12 months at least before it's usable by people on their day-to-day, and even then not end users. I mean, it's not my main phone and won't be for quite a while. How can we get involved? Was the next question that's come in. On the link to plasma-mobile.org, there's links to a forum about Plasma Mobile. All development happens in the standard public channels. Hashtag Plasma on IRC, given you're all on IRC at the moment.
Okay, yeah. Just pass it on IRC. Plasma channel, forums.kd.org. There are the subforums for it. Plasmadevel at kd.org mailing list. And those are the main channels we are communicating right now.
Cool. Which point I'll close this. We'll stay on IRC and then you can ask us questions there.
Yeah, so thank you everybody.